there's a very interesting thread emerging in all these things that we're talking about, because we talked about AI de-skilling clinicians. We talked about digital twins taking intrinsic sensations and making them objective and then even sharing them.
Hello, and welcome to the Healthusiasm podcast, a panel discussion on innovations in health and self-care. My name is Christophe Jauquet. I'm a health business expert, author, and keynote speaker. Every week, I discuss with a panel of experts the positive changes that are shaping our health and happiness. And for this discussion, we have three of your beloved panelists in the panel, experts in the panel. Calling in from Barcelona is our digital health connector, Aline Noizet.
Hola.
From Scotland, but living near Brighton, medical expert in digital innovation, Dr. Keith Grimes.
Fit like everyone.
And last but not least, from Ghent, Belgium, human experience expert Mo Zoina.
Goeiedag.
This means that we are missing our, from Scotland but living in Berlin, digital health expert for startups, Nia Escobar-Kulle. Good to have you back, guys.
It's been a while.
How are you doing?
Very good.
Yeah, all good. Although very wet and rainy here in the UK.
Yeah, it's not the case in Barcelona, right, Aline?
Well, it's cooler today, so yeah. Finally, we can breathe again. It's been helpful.
I think we and Mo, we kind of like thinking about the end of summer as it is in Belgium as well.
It's been extremely dry in Belgium. So, I think a little bit of rain would do nature and people good, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, with all the weather forecasts that we just had, it's good to start again with these recordings because this is year 4 of the Healthusiasm podcast.
Ooh.
There is no lack of podcasts these days. There's a lot of people that get podcasts started. It's an easy channel. It's a very fun channel, but most of them, I think 85% stop within the first year. So we are down the road and we are going into year 4. It's great to be back. Do you know who is also back since yesterday? I think I read it this morning. There's somebody else who is back. Elizabeth Holmes.
Whoa, Mrs. Theranos.
Theranos. She's still in prison, serving 11 years for fraud. Hasn't tweeted or said anything online since, I think, 2015 or 2016. And now she suddenly posted something on X. It's not an apology. It's not a reflection. It's a quote from Martin Luther King, kind of saying that she was being treated unfairly. I think the quote said, "How long will justice be crucified and truth bear it? How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because you shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice."
That sounds
like
revenge.
Sounds very much like prison has done exactly what they intended it to do, which is absolutely bugger all.
I find it really interesting how she suddenly just pops out with these cryptic quotes, kind of suggesting that she's treated unfairly. I mean, the internet is still not 100% sure whether she can tweet from prison and whether it's actually her or whether she is hacked or something. But it was an interesting news this morning when I saw it. Anyways, back to the real news. We will be talking about Healthusiasms, the Healthusiasms that we saw in the past 2 months, actually, because we didn't record one in July. So here we go. And let's start with Aline. What do you have?
So I've got an interesting news that happened on the 14th of July. So aside from being France National Day, it was also the day when Alice Walton School of Medicine welcomed its inaugural class. So why does it matter? Because it's a new school of medicine and it's rethinking medical education. So funny enough, it's abbreviated AWESOM with the first letters like AWSOM. It was founded by Alice Walton. She's one of the heirs of Walmart. And it is based in Arkansas, where she lives, like on a property. So it offers a 4-year program that will prioritize preventive medicine and all health principles, caring for the entire person and taking into account mental health and lifestyle choices instead of focusing solely on symptom-driven treatments. It will include emerging technologies like AI and digital health innovations, but also art-based courses like drawing and museum visits. And the school is actually a direct pathway away from the art museum that's located right next door. So very convenient. And they will also have hands-on learning like gardening and culinary training, as well as opportunity for community-based research and innovation. So lots of diverse courses on top of the scientific and medical classes. And the school has partnership with Stanford and other top universities for the curriculum, and also with Mercy, the local healthcare ecosystem, to implement this whole health concept in a real-world setting. And they're really hoping that some of the graduating students will remain in Arkansas or go to other rural or undeserved population areas with less medical education. And another good news for the 5 first graduating classes, Alice Walton is going to cover their tuitions.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I had the same Healthusiasm because it's so exceptional. Indeed, it's a lot more on preventive care than actually curative care. I also read there's a lot of classes, I think 50 hours on nutrition and cooking, which is a lot. They will learn how to operate drones for the delivery of medicines. What else was there? Yeah, they you talked about it. They will take art courses specifically because it trains their observation skill and empathy. So it's a completely different way of looking at how should we teach or build the future healthcare, medicines, etc. So
I think
I was really surprised by it as well.
I think the point was interesting, like doing this partnership with Mercy was really because so you're doing something innovative at school, but you want to implement it in the real world, because if those new doctors have that special mentality, but then they get sent to hospitals who function in a different way, this is not going to be easy. So I think that's one of the challenges that they are forcing, and they want to really try it with Mercy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's even courses on remote monitoring and telehealth, which I think is not really the case in lots of curriculum these days as well. So while in real life, it should be something that is happening, right?
That's great for a DT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe she should teach there.
Shout out to Aditi. Where are you, Aditi? Hope you're doing fine. Hello from the team.
I've bumped into her a few times at events, actually. I've seen her.
Yeah, me too.
Not so recently. But I'm having a look at the website here in the background, and it's fantastic. I like the way that they start with top of the pile, art of healing. They talk about the importance of the human dimensions of care, and that is, of course, critical. There's a few reasons for that, but when we look at a world where AI and technology is increasingly coming into the transactional aspects of medicine, a lot of doctors and clinicians are sort of thinking, well, what's our place in this new world? Top of the pile here. It's the human aspect. It's the connections and everything, which has been sort of discounted away over the last many years. So to see that come in, and then that partnership with art as well, is really wonderful to see. I would say that I would want to know a great deal more about exactly how much they're digging into the AI and digital health side of things as well. It's one thing to be shown these technologies and shown how to use them. It's an entirely other one to actually understand them as well. And it's one of my criticisms of current curriculums in the UK. There is no compulsory AI, data science, or digital health, or even innovation component. Unlike things like pharmacology, where you get chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry, and so on. And in a world where technology is so important and will be increasingly important, I think that's the bit that I'd want to see, because I think ultimately medicine is going to trend towards being experts at humans, being human, and working with technology is ultimately where it's going to go. So that has to be balanced. But this is really great to see. And I suppose it's the US, so this is like they'll have done a degree course beforehand as well, won't they? They'll have done pre-med.
Now, to balance that, you on the technological side, I just read a great article that kind of piggybacks on what you just said, Aline. There's also a philosophical shift in the way we look at health. Not just at healthcare, but at health. And you should look up the term intrinsic health, where it's a way of defending health rather than preventing disease, which, if you just shift that perspective, is completely different. And they've developed a framework which is called, I think, energy, communication, and structure. So they look at how our body, our biology, is driven by these 3 pillars, and they look at the ecosystem of how our body functions rather than siloed. So intrinsic health and the framework they have to kind of redefine how health defends itself rather than preventing disease, I think is a nice shift. And that framework is really interesting. You know, how is our energy managed throughout our body? How is it used in the overall structures going from one organ to the other? But then how do these cells communicate? For instance, I was flabbergasted that understanding why exercise is really interesting is because we create myokines, right? And these myokines, they just domino through all the health benefits. So not making it too long, but I think there's a shift happening here and healthusiasm happening here. So really fond of that.
Yeah, fully agree. But I do like in general this shift in how we look at health. Super interesting, and it's a bit reflected already, I think, in this awesome school. If you go online, it is a combination of, you know, the human part with, you know, the science part and the technology part, and I think it all merges really well in this new school. So I hope it will be very inspiring. I'll definitely use it in keynotes to spread this good news. However, talking about AI and doctors, maybe I'll go to you for the next Healthusiasm Mo. There is a danger if AI is too much, too often used by doctors in a way, right?
Yeah. I'll go back to my habits. We are lazy by definition. We all know that we can't drive anywhere without Waze because we weren't attentive. So a new study shocked me after introducing AI assistance on colonoscopies. The doctor's own abilities to spot cancer on their own dropped from almost 30% to 22%. In other words, when the AI tools were removed, performance slipped significantly. And that's not small talk. Imagine a 6% drop in adenoma detection, translating to potentially thousands more cancers missed because we lean too heavily on the machine. And it's from a behavioral point of view, it's a cognitive trap. We call that automation bias, or the tendency to follow and trust technological cues over our own judgment. We often do that also with our Oura Ring. That's why I'm kind of weaning off Oura Ring. And basically what I'm doing is trying to, you know, gauge where I'm at and feeling and sensing where I'm at, and then checking with my Oura Ring if what I sensed was right. And I think that's the way to go. The danger is not the tool itself, but the unintended erosion of human skill when doctors lean too heavily on it. Now, you might not know that, but I studied to be a pilot. I went to the US. I had my pilot's license, private, professional. And there is a correlation on, you know, how do we keep educating physicians when they use AI? How do we keep their basic skills? So pilots need to be able to land the plane with minimal systems. Right. So I think there is a correlation when pilots get their rating or they go into simulator or anything else. We test their ability to do it with minimal systems. And I think yearly checks for physicians to keep their own level up might be very good. And then secondly, maybe use AI to improve the intrinsic skill of the physician. So maybe the physician cannot have the AI interpretation until he or she gives their own interpretation and then learns from it, whether or not their skill was good or their skill kind of weaned off or anything. So maybe we should have AI as a closed loop assistant, as a co-pilot, not plugging Microsoft here. But yeah, maybe physicians first and then technology to check and guardrail everything. So maybe that's a Healthusiasm forward in how AI can help us become better doctors rather than lazy doctors.
Yeah. So that paper, and I think it was like you said, it was on colonoscopy, has stimulated a great deal of discussion in sort of clinical settings and a lot of the groups that I'm in, because it helps reinforce something that people suspected might happen, felt was happening, and now see happening. And yes, I think you're right. Everything that you've mentioned there, and you know, medicine has a history of looking at the aerospace industry for improvements. You know, clinical governance and, you know, evidence-based practice and everything stemmed from, you know, the airline industry as well. So I think that makes a great deal of sense. There's an interesting tension in all of it as well, because medicine has a long history of losing skills and replacing them with technology. I mean, it's constantly happening. microscopy. Time was that doctors would be expert microscopists because they'd be the ones that actually take the sample and analyze them on the bench side. They would be brilliant at doing physical examination, much better than they are now. They'd be doing urinalysis. Back in the day, they would taste urine and use their own sensors on this. These are all things that doctors used to do, and technology has replaced. Even now, radiology, you go to emergency department, they'll sling you in a CT scanner, something that was, rather rarely done even in my time, earlier on in the career as well. So we constantly see that as well. And there's always a balance to be struck. And the other thing to bear in mind is that the importance of trying to balance up other skills with simulation and the like comes at a cost. And that cost is the time, for all the hours that a doctor spends in a simulator simulating, maintaining their skills, is time away that they would be seeing patients as well. So there's going to be a lot of complexity in this, not to dispute what Mo's saying on this one as well. I think that the really sharp end of this right now at scale in the UK and maybe elsewhere around the world is ambient scribes, which are being very, very heavily adopted. And it's causing a lot of reflection in, well, how do things change? I speak to doctors who use ambient scribes and they almost universally love them. But an increasing thing that they're saying is that I don't remember the consultations as well now. They just don't remember them as well. Now, we're not sure whether that's a temporary phenomenon or an ongoing phenomenon, but some people say that you use it for a while and you relax into it and it comes back. But doctors are increasingly using ambient scribes, but then still taking notes because there's something about the act of taking notes but they've been trained that way. So maybe this is a hangover from how I learned to practice, required me to take notes, but doctors trained in a world with scribes won't need that to maintain their focus. I think the more the technology comes in, technology changes us as well. And the balance is interesting. Ali?
Yeah, actually, I saw an article this week comparing two MRIs of brains. So one using ChatGPT and the other not. And you could really see the difference. And that's a bit my worry. And I think we've talked about it already with AI, is that your brain won't function the same because you're giving all the information. And Mo, you were mentioning ways. And for me, it was the same. I think we lost a bit the ability to read a map and to know how to direct ourselves. No, okay. I went to Canada in March and our phone was not activated. With my friend, when we rented the car, we had to read a map. It's like, oh my God, I think we lost a bit that ability, and I could see the same happening with healthcare professionals. No, so you learn something at medical school, but then you have to train the brain to keep at it.
Yeah, but the spot we use it, AI might be, in which sequence do we use it? So human first and then double checking it might be really good. So for instance, a system where the colonoscopy or the person doing the colonoscopy has to put in their differential diagnosis of what they've seen, and then it's enriched with AI. And maybe blocking that thing creates a closed loop learning. Oh, I missed out on that. And then you learn to see it again. But if it's predefined with you and then you just say, oh, yeah, probably. So I think it doesn't have to cost time or use time. I think the sequence in which you implement it might maybe create a constant learning cycle.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I remember reading an article which was saying that making an argument for the extensive use of tools. And the argument was that the human race has been uniquely successful because of the brain's ability to outsource its thinking. That's the unique ability of the human, and that's why we've advanced so much. There are parts of our brain that have underdeveloped that would previously been very active in terms of hunting and fishing and cooking, or all those kind of things. But and so the argument within this is that AI is another example of this. Whether it's a unique example or not was the bit that was up for debate. But yeah, there's going to be some trade-offs. What if AI-assisted colonoscopy, which excludes the doctors, as in, the doctor doesn't get involved, is 80% effective, but a doctor assisted by AI is 60% effective, and a doctor without AI is 40% effective. What's the argument there? Should we just cut the doctors out of the loop if it's that effective? It's going to be a really interesting one.
Yeah, I love the thought, and it goes a bit back on what we talked about in the previous episode, which was on the radical impact of AI on health, where we also talked about the capability atrophy that basically AI could cause, right? It's a bit like if you don't use your muscles, you get weaker. It's the same thing maybe that we might risk with AI.
We may trade off some areas, but imagine the human connection and empathy part of our brain growing as a result of the time coming back because we're not spending our time chasing adenomas. I think I'd rather have that.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Anyway, I think we are going into the self-outsourcing age anyway. So there's a lot of things that we will be outsourcing. And so let's hope that we can get back to our empathy and emotions. Then again, what we will see, and I'll say it the same way as you already mentioned it, all of you 3 or 4 times. I read an article. I don't know if you noticed it, but all of you had said, I read an article. So I also read an article, just to say. It was about digital twins. So if we're talking about self-outsourcing age, I think digital twins might have some risk there as well. Nevertheless, they might have some opportunities and benefits as well. But I want to talk specifically about Twin Health, which is a company from California. It just raised $53 million. And if you think that is a lot, it's only 2 years after they secured $140 million in Series C. And the idea is to really build a digital twin of your body that could help you fight diseases like type 2 diabetes and obesity. And so basic thing, what does it offer? It has, it uses biomarkers data from your wearables. Nothing new there. Gives 24/7 advice on food, sleep, and activity, which is interesting. Definitely if it's built as a digital twin, a digital version of yourself. Typically for the state, of course, it works with employers and health plans just to make sure that it can be scaled from an access point of view so that more people have access to it. And the idea really behind it, and this is a very trendy topic, of course, with the Ozempics and weight management going on, it should help prevent and reverse metabolic diseases. And I kind of like that idea because they're working on a 3D version of it as well. So they really want to go into this AI copy of yourself that can give you advice at some point. And it's not the only one. I'm actually doing some research on digital twins because a lot is happening out there. I saw Bertrand Mesco also did some writing on, the digital twins that are out there. And he even did a test with BioTwin, which is one I never heard of. But it's a company that does basically the same as the Twin Health that we talked about before, except that they also are creating the biological twins from blood samples. So you give them 10 dried blood samples. They also run metabolomic profiling so that they can actually build your digital twin, which might have an estimation of also your body fat, your hydration, your muscle mass, your heart rate, stress levels. And it's more particularly used for early cancer detection or to simulate treatment plans than it is for the type 2 diabetes of Twin Health. Still early, all of those things, but I think it's interesting to see how we came from, if you want, the quantified self, which somehow we looked at how many steps that we did to bit by bit getting those digital twins of ourselves that might be, giving a great view on how our health is doing and maybe where it is going.
Yeah, it's something else that's borrowed from the airline industry as well. Digital twins, of course, with engines and everything.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of digital twins out there that are even used in hospitals to look at how hospitals should be run, how manufacturing places should be run. I think BMW has a huge digital twin of many of their sites, construction sites. So it kind of is becoming a big thing. And I think this is something that we sometimes forget. We always talk about AI and we think the metaverse is gone. I think the metaverse is being built through AI because there's so many data that is being captured that we're building a digital twin of ourselves. We're building a digital twin of the hospital, building a digital twin of a manufacturing plant. And so bit by bit, we're building the metaverse with all the data that we're capturing for AI, which is an interesting evolution. It is also the outsourcing age, of course. Question is, and then I'll get to you, Mo, are we still be able to feel what we feel, or will we rely even more on our Aura ring and the data that these bio or these digital twins will provide us?
Well, yeah, measuring your biometrics, we've been there, the quantifiable self, but there's also a new initiative. Remember, for those in relationships, you used to come home and your significant other says, how was your day, dear? How did you feel? Some people appreciate that. Others roll their eyes and just leave me alone. I'm just trying to Well, maybe you will have to come home now and everything will already be known, how you felt that way, if you felt aroused, if you have stress or anything. And it's called a raw ring. It's a ring that monitors your biometrics and streams it in real time.
Not to be confused with the Aura ring.
No, raw, RAW. And it's a ring that monitors your biometrics and streams them in real time to your significant other. Heart rate, skin temperature, stress indicator, even vocal patterns, all analyzed by AI to determine your emotional state in real time, right? And it's developed by a dating app, Raw, with backing from Queen's Tech. It's being marketed as the ultimate symbol for committed couples. Think of it as a mood ring for the surveillance age. Their tagline is great. It's called Keeping Hearts Beating as One. And it's very seductive, but it strips away the romance. And you're looking at 24/7 emotional monitoring. Your partner gets alerts when you're stressed, excited, or aroused. Explain that. And of course, we freak out on WhatsApp if the message isn't clear. So we fill in things. Imagine missing all the context of heart rate spiking up, vocal patterns, and it's an accident waiting to happen. It's a perfect storm to fill in the blanks. And we love to do that. Our brain loves to fill in the blanks because the device can't tell the difference from context. Right? But your partner's imagination is very good at filling in the blanks. So the founder, Marina Anderson, insists that it's for couples who want radical transparency, not people planning to cheat. But we've seen this move before. AirTags weren't developed for that, but now they've been used for stalking, right? So I think Marina is underestimating the creativity we have as human beings, but also, the secrecy of keeping your emotions to you and deciding when you want to share them and how you want to share them, and then there's no need to communicate anymore. We're connected. I'm just ranting here, but, so where's the mystery? Where's the boundaries? Where's the choice of what to reveal, what not to reveal? The raw ring eliminates all this. It turns emotional connections into a data stream, quantified, monitored, optimized. People say, I love you. And I say, I know. But that's because I feel it, not because I saw it on my phone, right? So I can't imagine the discussion when your partner just bought 2 raw rings and offers you that as a gift and you don't want it. Talk yourself out of that. Honey, no, it's fine. Yes, I bought this for the 2 of us. Anyway, we're moving from I choose to share this with you to your body already told me everything, whether you want it or not.
Yeah, but what if you're on a date with your partner and you can see that your partner is aroused by
and you're stressed
someone else?
and you're irritated. Yeah. I want to get out of it. Yeah. So
I think
I love alliterations. It's not it's surveillance dressed up as love. It replaces trust with tracking, and it's a digital leash mistaking for connection. So I think from a behavioral point of view, and from the fact that if you really understand human beings, this is an accident waiting to happen.
There's a very interesting thread emerging in all these things that we're talking about, because we talked about AI de-skilling clinicians. We talked about digital twins taking intrinsic sensations and making them objective and then even sharing them. And while you were talking, I was thinking about biofeedback. And of course, biofeedback has been around for a long time. But the purpose of biofeedback was to make people aware, like more aware of themselves, as it was highlighting it. And so, I'm not aware that my heart rate is up. With biofeedback, I can practice something and then develop the internal sensations. So I don't have to rely on the numbers. And so in all these things we've discussed, there's an element of outsourcing something that's within us to something outside us. AI doing polyp detection, digital twins, transmitting the fact that we love or feel something for someone else. So, there's maybe some positives and all that. I just made a defense of it a bit earlier on, but at the same time, there's the cost of that. A person who can't tell if they've had a good night's sleep just by how they feel when they wake up, but instead counts the numbers, is losing something in there as well. So this is something we're going to increasingly have to decide, let alone the arguments about why won't you wear my connected ring?
Yeah, talk yourself out of that, but also the how do you call it?
Desensitization, yeah.
Desensitization, technology desensitizing our humanity. So, yeah. Aline.
Yeah, Mo, your solution reminded me of the solution of a friend of mine. It's called EDM, and they're actually also working on the empathy, the connection between people. So they are measuring that through Apple Watch. And then if you see that there's like stress between two people, they can send some vibration to you so you can actually calm down and just align more the heart rate. I think it's a very interesting project, and they can also do like a map of the heart. And so it will be kind of the next step, you know. Yours is more like monitoring, and in their case, they're more acting to try to align the energies of two people, or balancing the energies of people.
Yeah, but
Working towards empathy.
not having to look at the person to understand that is a de-skilling.
Yeah.
Right. So I think 2 years ago, I went to Love Tomorrow. It's kind of a side kick of Tomorrowland. And it was a fashion designer who made clothes that would send color codes so that the person in front of you understood how you felt.
Shout out to Riaz Narok.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but what's wrong with the face?
Oh, this is all.
What's
These-
wrong with
these
the
are all-
face? You know, and that
Yeah.
means that if you're nude, nothing can be, observed. So I love the logical idea, but what's wrong with the face, the body posture? What's wrong with the intonation? What's wrong with the words? Anyway,
Everything old is new again. In the 1990s, do you not remember global thermocolor t-shirts that changed color depending on your body temperature and had patterns on them? Or even the old mood fish, you'd get a bit of plastic and you'd put it on and it would curl depending on the temperature of your hand. And you would use that to interpret whether you loved someone in front of you.
Oh.
Like humans are in love with trying to understand more, the fact that we are bounded within ourselves. We have limited senses. Yet we have a mind that goes beyond that. We are obsessed with going beyond that. It's our great strength and weakness. And here we have is like, well, here's a shortcut straight to the brain of another person or their heart.
yeah, shortcuts. We're lazy. We don't have to think about it. Save energy. So I used to work for a cosmetic brand, which is called Boucheron, and the founder of Boucheron is Frédéric Boucheron. And he says, rien n'est plus nouveau que ce qui fut un temps oublié. And in English is nothing is newer than that was once forgotten. And that brings us to the cycle of marketing and relaunching things and the cycle of human skill. But very fascinating. What's wrong with the face? What's wrong with the voice? What's wrong with the eyes? Right.
But maybe we can use it in a healthcare setting. And I'm making a small leap here. But what if doctors could sense that men are not actually telling the truth when they are with them? That would be great, because there's a recent study that said that, first of all, the majority of men, and they're talking about 65% of men, they avoid medical care as long as possible. 72% would rather clean the bathroom than visit a doctor, which is saying something. But the majority is also not honest during medical visits. So if we would have those type of rings, maybe it could help to avoid men not saying everything of withholding truth when they speak to physicians.
Christophe, I'll let you into a secret. Doctors are already excellent at that. We assume that anytime a man is in front of us, like anytime a man came into a surgery, I would assume that I'm not getting the whole story. Like it never happened. I would automatically assume that because men never come in unless they're basically completely broken or someone's forced them in. So I think people start that way. You just assume that the person in front of you is not telling you absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And think of Dr. House. Think of Dr. House.
Ah, yeah,
All
true.
patients lie.
Everybody lies.
All patients lie.
So
But it could be interesting to use it there.
Yeah. What about the right to lie? The sovereignty,
yeah.
the sovereignty of your own health. You pay your own price. So I think it's also a kind of belittling a man telling that, of course.
No, it's fine. No. I'm not saying that a person should be forced to tell the truth. That they are not telling the full truth carries information.
But what I like about Christophe's things is some people can be intimidating by, do you feel okay? Did you understand it? You see a lot of people, and that's what we call socially desirable behavior, socially desirable behavior. I'll get to it. And I think sometimes, a doctor is still intimidating in someone,
power dynamic,
power. And I think also in hospitals, but also imagine in elderly care homes where the communication has depleted. knowing when people are in pain. We already had one. I think we already had an Healthusiasm where you didn't rely on communication to know exactly how people felt. I think when people are in a vulnerable position, both in communication or stress and things, it might incredibly be useful. So very enthusiastic about deploying that in that context.
Yeah, and I think it's necessary as well, because what the article also said is that there's a lot more risk on men with heavy diseases and so forth. So maybe it could help there for sure. Moving on, I already was talking about type 2 diabetes, weight management and so forth. But Eileen, I think you have some enthusiasm in that field as well.
Exactly. So it's a news coming from Germany. So Novo Nordisk launched a program called Übergewicht, which means obesity. So we know that Novo Nordisk have been very active in the obesity space with the GLP-1s, but they want to go a step further and really empower people and raise awareness around obesity. So on that platform, you can calculate your BMI. Then you have some educational information about obesity. And what's special also, you can book a consultation with an obesity consultant through the partner, Arts Consultation, so obesity specialist. And you also have a directory where you can look for a specialist on your choice and go and visit that person. So the video consultation, there's a fee, and they said that the fee, it's transparent. You will know the price. But I think it's very interesting development. And in Spain, they also have a similar page. So it's called La Verdad de su Peso, the truth about your weight. And the campaign itself, it's called Cardiovasculate. So it's a bit more focused on cardiovascular. So the link between cardiovascular and obesity. They also talk about menopause and obesity. So they really want to empower people, educate people around the importance of obesity and to act against it. And what's interesting is that in Spain, for now, they don't have the option to book the video consultation. So I'm really curious to see if this will change, if they're going to replicate the German model in other countries, and if they're going to partner with other telemedicine companies in other countries as well.
The first time you explained it, Übergewicht, I thought it was a program that excludes people from taking the Uber, or maybe giving them a premium of 50% on their rate for Uber. I think that, but yeah,
That's my weight.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think they're doing a lot of interesting stuff. And I think Novo, but Lilly as well, and the whole weight management space, I think for me as an innovation business strategist, I think it's the most interesting place to be in if you're working in pharma. Why? Because it really changes the whole. I mean, pharma has been doing the same thing for 30 years, right? But now they're looking at it in an entirely different way, because weight management is so much influenced by social media. It's no longer just the key opinion leaders. It's also the digital opinion leaders, the healthfluencers, the medfluencers, and all of that. And also the way that you reach out to people is entirely different. So to me, as a business strategist, innovation focused guy, I'm really looking at what all of the things that they're doing, because it's got to be exciting times to reinvent pharmaceutical business and the way that you know what's happening out there and how you can influence people's behaviors.
But in the case of GLP-1As and weight management, it's enormously helped by the fact that they have a drug that actually works. Like, this is the thing. Sure. It's like, I mean, there's everything on top of it as well, but that GLP-1s and medicines like that from companies like Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are so tremendously effective compared to almost anything else we've had before. You're absolutely right. But that's a tremendous advantage in the first instance, and then you get to build on top of it. So the excitement I have, it's a bit like ambient scribes with doctors. Rare is the time that doctors will actually just pull the technology towards them. And what then happens is that they want to do it so much that you can slip in all the other good stuff, like, oh, no, it has to be safe, you have to do governance and everything like that, because they want to use it. Whereas if it was something they didn't want to use quite so much, it wasn't quite as effective, it becomes harder. So I like what you're saying for the same reason. People are pulling this towards them. And at the same time, like, we've got this opportunity, all the other things that should be done as well can be brought in.
Well, it's shifting society, and that's what I like. I mean, it's shifting the way that people go about stuff, and this is something which really I'm fascinated about, and that's what I like.
It's also creating another type of innovation. We heard about Nestle moving into a food line for people taking GLP-1, but there's also the fast food industry who is engineering food that health is insensitive to people taking GLP-1. So in terms of, feeling full, cravings and things like that, they're engineering things that can circumvent
What?
GLP. Yeah. So I think the innovation has both spectrums because they're just seeing volumes decrease. So how can we keep them hooked on our food and circumvent the trigger that GLP-1s do with these people? So I think as a business and innovation strategist in health, that's also for you, Christophe.
Yeah, definitely.
A nice counterforce of how creative the industry is.
That's the way that I want to go, but
No. I think it's human creativity in some way.
Yeah.
So this is also happening. How can we make sure that people get enough protein? So that's the Nestle side. But the fast food side is really engineering things that how can we make sure that we keep wanting for more. We know that fat, sugars, and salts have been engineered in a way that gets you hooked directly in a way, in crisps, as they say in England, and chips, as we say here. But I think there's also a creative engineering in food science coming our way.
Well, I mean, remember, 2026 is the year in which semaglutide becomes a generic in the BRIC countries. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, semaglutide will be extremely cheap. Let's see how the industry responds to that. And of course, remember that these medications have also got a purported impact on addictive behaviors, alcohol, tobacco, and the like too. So, never underestimate the human race's ability to turn good news into bad, hey?
But also this week, I read that Noom are launching microdosing of GLP-1s, like to support people with their general health. So it's really going beyond just obesity or diabetes, but just you experience it himself, how this is impacting his own health positively. And I know, like, going to a conference about fatty liver disease a few months ago, they were saying that there's like promising research studies showing that it could actually help with fatty liver disease. I read it about arthrosis, for instance. So it seems that there will be lots of potential in different areas of health. So I thought the new news was also interesting.
It's a business and a medical Swiss knife. Huh? I've never seen one molecule scale over as many therapeutic domains as this. So, and it seems, for the moment, it seems safe.
Yeah.
So that I think the effectiveness is one thing, but the relative safety of it is also. But we'll see in a decade.
What is the first? Say it again.
They say this week that it could cause blindness to people, sudden blindness. GLP-1s.
Haven't heard that.
Yeah, what I will say, so my perspective, I'm on a GLP-1, I'm on Mounjaro, and I plan to stay on that or a version of it for the rest of my days because I'm convinced of these things. I have fatty liver disease, or at least I had fatty liver disease. Since being on it and the weight loss, my liver function has normalized as well. So we await the evidence from formal trials and everything like that. But I remember Eric Topol described this class of drugs as pro-homeostatic, and that, return a disordered human physiology, in part because of the environment that we live in, to a more ordered physiology. So, but you're right, we have to watch this. Semaglutide's been around for a long time, actually. The safety evidence is pretty good. But yeah, we'll see, particularly when you get large numbers of people.
Yeah, metformin has been scaled incredibly and is deemed as safe. So yeah, also with the anti-aging part.
Yeah, and they still don't know how it works, really. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah,
like paracetamol.
Well, that's a nice bridge, Christophe. Painkillers.
Stunned silence. Roll on, Mo.
Oh, okay. I thought Christophe would do the honors, but I'll roll on. Yeah, this topic, painkillers, is very close to my heart. It's also very close to my home. We've been confronted in Belgium with kind of a drama in elderly care homes where 5 elderly residents died in a care center after being affected with a new steg bacteria. It's a strain that can trigger kidney failure. And steg stands for sugar toxin producing Escherichia coli. It's a type of bacteria that lives in the intestines of farm animals and can cause illness in humans. Infections occur through contact with contaminated food, especially raw meat or unpasteurized products, water or animals, and by person-to-person spread. Now, by coincidence, I also read that link to that. The topic is on these people might require antibiotics, right? And there's a big problem in the Western world on our resistance to antibiotics. We still need stronger and more effective antibiotics because, of course, the bacteria change and the pathogens change. But what I saw is that, especially in these elderly care homes, there's a lot of medication being taken, at different levels. I think there's multiple medication being taken. And what I saw is that the painkillers we trust the most, like ibuprofen and acetaminophen, can quietly increase bacterial resistance, making infections like staph harder to fight. And they're just not fringe drugs. They're everyday tablets people take for fever, arthritis, headaches. And maybe that could be one of the reasons why our resistance to antibiotics has increased. And there's a double whopper. First, if you take them alone, these painkillers, they increase it. But if you combine them with antibiotics, it's kind of an amplified effect. And in aged care, where residents often juggle multiple medications, it's a very dangerous cocktail. Antibiotic resistance is already one of the greatest health crisis. And if you combine that with common painkiller and resistance accelerator, outbreaks like this one can become even deadlier. So that's my contribution. Maybe we can create some awareness on the combination of painkillers and antibiotics, and maybe, find a source that can help us wean off painkillers so that our resistance to antibiotic increases. So that's my contribution to something that is close to home, something very close to our hearts. And maybe this podcast is heard by people in these elderly centers or taking care of the elderly center, and maybe some awareness might occur from that.
Yeah.
Keith,
This is interesting new news, and it sort of stacks on top of all the other risks that happen in care in those facilities as well. Painkillers, not just your non-steroidals or anti-inflammatories and the paracetamol, acetaminophen and the like, opiate-based painkillers as well, which are commonly used, although less so than they were, have long been known to suppress the immune system as well because of the effects on the neurohumoral immunity. So everything stacks up. And then, of course, if you're in a shared care facility, things like urinary infections are more common as people get older. There's common prescribing patterns. The same bugs in the environment circulate around. So you've got the perfect environment for generating multi-drug resistance in those circumstances. And of course, if you give antibiotics, then you have the risk of Clostridium difficile, which is one of the bugs that lives in the gut and is normally not a problem for people. But as your immune system becomes suppressed, it can cause issues too. So we should always be very, very vigilant. I think the general, don't use drugs if you don't have to. is always the same thing here. But this is really interesting to hear about because people might spare opiates to try these other safe ones. And if they add to it, there's some concerns. Oh, Christophe.
Yeah.
Christophe, I think we can see your lips moving.
Okay, let's. He just said, let me fill that in. If you think of, no, maybe that was not it.
It looks good.
Yeah, it was kind
so
of.
my mic was muted, and the whole team is trying to understand. But I was saying what I was saying is that your voice sounded very heavy most of the times when you speak about topics. Mo, you're very posed and very chill, and here it really sounded heavy. So it felt close to heart indeed, as the way that you were talking.
Thank you for sensing that.
Yeah, I didn't need any tuning.
You need a ring. You need a ring for that.
Yeah, for that. Maybe we should all have these rings when we're on the podcast. Cool. Let's move on to some music, some happy vibes, some happy tunes here. Any music fans specifically? Big fans?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know Travis Barker?
Yeah.
From what band?
Is he seen the one? I think did he not just sing at Reading Festival? My nephew went to see someone of that name. So I don't know that guy or that music, but I do know that my nephew loves him.
It's from Blink 182. And he's a drummer. He's a legendary drummer because he's so fast and then the way that he does things. So maybe you know him. He's fully tattooed. He's the most famous vegan in the world as well. So quite a special guy in itself. He had a devastating plane crash in 2008, I think it was. And actually, doctors back then told him he might never walk or play drums again. And so he really started working heavily on his health and trying to be, healthy again. And to prove doctors wrong, he completely rebuilt his life. And he did so because he's playing in bands again. He's still one of the best drummers in the world, apparently. And now he's started something together with Spotify, which is called Run, Travis, Run, which made me think of what's the movie again?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Run, Forrest, Run. So it's Run, Travis, Run, which is kind of funny. And so it's actually music meets movement, right? So there's playlists that he curates, which have this high energy vibe that he is known for. Keith, it's not Travis Scott, which
apologies to my nephew. Apologies to my nephew.
It's Travis Barker, actually, Travis Barker. And so he's really known for his drumming. So what he does is he helps people to run and to give them medals if they're actually learning. So he really wants to make sure that people are moving a lot more. And it kind of is some sort of making sure that people take care of their health the way that he did. And I find it really interesting because he is known for, his music, and he really is one of the best drummers in the world. But he shifted this whole story and the attention that he gets to health. And he was not alone because somebody else did pretty much exactly the same thing, which is Diplo. I don't know if you know Diplo, his producer, DJ. He worked with, I think he's also behind Major Lazer and Skrillex, which are both from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. But worked together with Beyonce, Madonna, Justin Bieber, Rihanna. So all of the big ones. He's one of the big producers out there. And also he has these types of 5K, 5 kilometers running where people get together. 11,000 people get together to do some running. So it's not just the big cities marathons, which are mostly for, people that train a lot, but here the threshold is a lot lower. It's 5 kilometers. It's with their music. And I really like the way that they built this community around, famous people who create great music, and it becomes some sort of wellness community and a new kind of health experience. And I was so interested about it because it's not just Travis Barker and Diplo, but there's a lot of initiatives in that regard. And there was one that really struck my eye, and I was like, oh, I would probably join that. And it's in Chicago, and it's album runs. So if a new album comes out, people are running together to listen to that album. And so an album is 45 minutes up to an hour, probably. And so you stream it together at the same time, and then you run while listening to the album. And then after the run, you sit together to really talk about it, maybe even with the artists sometimes, to talk about the music and what you liked about it. So community, wellness, exercise, movement, even recovery in many ways. Talking about Healthusiasm, this to me was really, really Healthusiasm.
Wonderful.
I've got a couple to add on top of that. In the UK, I don't know if you have it in Belgium, but there's something called Park Run. So you've been talking about Bark Run, and this is Park Run, and Park Run is extremely popular. And it's the same principle as that people just turn up for short runs in parks and natural spaces every Saturday morning. And it's become a really big movement here in the UK. And it's supported by a lot of things like Joe Wiley, the DJ, and everyone like that talks about it. There's also, but for people to look up afterwards, you were talking about the album runs. There's a drum and bass DJ called Dom Whiting. And he does drum and bass on the bike. And he has a bike with his decks on the front. And he cycles through a city and he does drum and bass sets. And he has huge crowds cycling with it. It's great fun to watch as well. But yeah, it basically takes down the cities that he goes through as everyone does it.
Gotta love it. Staying with the exercise and the movement, Keith, Zone Zero, is that what you were going to talk about?
Yeah, I was actually. So this I didn't read in an article. I experienced over the summer, but then I read about it in an article as well. Yeah, I often index a lot to technology, but over the summer I've been back into doing sea swimming as well. And in the UK, there's been a real uptick in saunas. People have been doing sauna. There's a lot of wood-fired saunas popping up in natural spaces here in Lewis and everything like that, and really enjoying it. So I'll come back onto the sort of hot and cold therapy, but within that, there was a sort of rising interest in what's called Zone Zero exercise. And this is going to be good news for people because Zone Zero refers to heart rate training or heart rate zones. So your maximum heart rate is roughly calculated by 220 minus your age. And you can train typically in different zones as percentages of that, with like 80% being very, very high and so on. Now, typically you'd be talking about over 50%. If you don't move at all, well, that's zone nothing. But zone 0 is below 50%. And that's things like light walking, working at a standing desk, doing light household chores. What's been interesting is there's increasing evidence that zone 0 actually has a very powerful impact on your health. And there's a number of different things that they've looked at that. I mean, this low intensity exercise, there's two ways of looking at it. Number one, it's a very easy way to get into exercise and often recommended, about the 10,000 steps. But increasingly, there's quite strong positive benefits for this, not just in terms of cardiovascular risk. And the studies are increasingly showing that it leads to decreased morbidity, cardiovascular disease, but increased longevity. But equally, it has positive benefits in terms of just general cardiovascular and muscle health as well. So the rise of zone 0, particularly focusing on staying below a certain heart rate, but still moving, is good. I was interested. So when I did read the articles about it, the interesting thing about it was something that I think was what they call it in Italy, passeggiata, when you have your food, and then or is it before or after food, but you go for your little stroll. And I think there's a lot of talk about you eat and then you go out and walk. And why would you do this? Of course, when you eat, the circulating levels of glucose start to rise as well. And left unattended, those get deposited in fat. But light exercise, zone 0 exercise, consumes this. And it consumes it. And low intensity exercise preferentially consumes fat stores as opposed to high intensity exercise as well. So the good news for everyone here is moving even just a little bit, deliberately just moving a little bit allows you to do that. And if you're really into your exercise, zone 0 exercise allows you to maintain your activity without having the negative effects of overtraining as well. So yeah, I highly recommend zone 0. I'm glad to see that I indulge in it already.
Sounds music to the ears of Mo, I think.
Yeah, I'll be leaving in 22 days to Croatia on my workation for 3 weeks. And I do a zone 0 every day in open sea, 45 minutes to 1 hour of crawl in the open sea. Sometimes it's a bit choppy.
And that's the zone 0?
Yeah, that's
nice
a zone 0. With my speed, it's a zone 0 because it's very rhythmic, and I kind of get into a trance. So I see everything below me. I'm observing while I swim, and I'm never out of breath when I finish.
Lovely.
So yeah, and just the rhythm, the reduced gravity, whatever happens below you when you actively look at it. So the waves of the sun, I do a zone 0 every day for 45 to 1 hour, and I come back rejuvenated, and then it stops.
Okay, the last Healthusiasms for you, Aline. You still had a very cool one.
Exactly. So it's about Lura Health. It's another example of a lab on a cheap device. So I'm very fan of all those different devices. We spoke some month ago about the earrings that could measure your temperature. And this one is for the mouth. So it's a tiny wireless oral sensor to monitor saliva and collect pH and metabolites to track different things like acidity for tooth decay as a first use case, glucose for diabetes, electrolytes and metabolite panel elements for kidney and heart disease, and ultimately in the future, medication monitoring. And the sensor, this tiny sensor could be added to the retainers and the liners of people who are wearing those devices, or on the tooth directly. I think it's another great example of remote monitoring to save time and avoid going to the lab. Just personally a bit concerned about the size. So it's tiny, but it's still a certain size, and to have something in the mouth that you can really feel it with your mouth. So maybe it's easier if it's on the retainer and you wear it at night.
It would solve a lot of problems with all these apps where you need to log in your food and so forth as well. If it can be logged in your mouth, it would be lovely.
Exactly.
Great. Those were the Healthusiasms. Let's go to some final unusual ones to wrap up the podcast. Who wants to go first? Raise your hand. First one, Mo. Okay. Let's go with you. There's this company that is called Super Longevity. It's from Japan. What could it be doing?
It seems too obvious, so it's probably not that. Super longevity. Japan is not known for its lack of longevity.
True.
When you look at Okinawa, it's considered a blue zone.
Exactly.
So maybe it's upping the ante and saying how we could increase these levels of longevity and take it to an entirely new level.
What is the main cause of death in Japan, or at least what is causing a lot of health troubles in Japan?
I think it's stress.
Is it loneliness?
Loneliness,
Stress,
isolation. Yeah. So they launched a matchmaking service for people over 50, and it is called Haha Lol.
Lol. Is this like that Lulamon thing that's difficult to say?
Say it again.
I remember someone said that Lulamon was named that way because it would be difficult to say in certain countries.
It could be. No. But it's haha LOL. So it's a matchmaking service for over 50, and it's supervised by doctors, uses AI, obviously, and it matches people based on hobbies and values. So even if you're older, you can still find friends or even romantic partners. It's led by psychiatrists, and he believes that human connection is vital for mental and physical health, which obviously is true. And it raised about 10 billion yen. I haven't looked up how much that is exactly. But I mean, with a name like Haha LOL, I think it's cool to have a wonderful product for a company which is called Super Longevity.
Really definitely got a Gen X boomer kind of vibe to it with Haha LOL. I'm speaking as a person who's 52, so I'm all of a sudden saying this is targeted at me.
Yeah, maybe. Aline, I read about something which really seemed really nice. What is a head spa? So head
spot?
Spa. And spa. Yeah.
Like a place where you get a massage of the hair. Like when you go to the hairdresser and they really focus on specific points of the head.
Yeah, it's that and a lot more. But it's a spa specifically for your head, your scalp, your hair. It also started in Japan, but apparently now popular all over the world. It provides you with a scalp analysis with special cameras. It gives you an oil massage, aromatherapy, neck and shoulder massage, acupressure, deep cleansing, exfoliation, steam therapy, then some treatments and styling. So people say it is the ultimate stress relief. When I read it, I was like, it probably is.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
Well, I'll go a step further. I'm not a potential client, as you all know, but I find
you have a head.
Yeah. But I find the videos of the head spas even soothing, right? Because they just it's ASMR with video, and then you hear the foam just crisping, and then they exfoliate your scalp, and the way they do it, I think it's incredible. So I'm okay with the videos. I would love, Aline, next time we go to Barcelona, we'll do a head spa together. But I would love to experience it. But I find the videos in itself alone also very soothing.
But what is it for you? Like, you don't need hair to go to those places?
No.
Okay, you convinced me. Maybe we do a beard spa then.
Yeah. It's the head. I mean, it's everything, right?
Yeah, you've definitely got a head, Mo. You'll be okay.
Last time I checked, yeah.
It's the wonderful benefit of mirror neurons. It's just that as humans, we feel what we see, and if you see a person having their head rubbed and face massaged and things, there's an element of that, isn't there? And then the ASMR is just the close sound, isn't it? All of it activates those neurons, and you feel what they feel.
Yeah, I was already feeling it when I was reading the article. So imagine seeing it or having the of being as fortunate as to going through that spa treatment. Keith, xenotransplantation. Heard about it?
Yes. So xenotransplantation, if I'm right, is this when you get things like pig livers and put them into humans and so on. So I remember it comes and goes in terms of popularity. I think when genetic engineering started coming across, they started talking about genetically engineering certain animals to provide organs and so on. So yeah, xenotransplantation, the xeno is from a lot of species transplantation coming in.
Yeah.
But a lot of heart valves are from pigs.
Yeah.
One of the problems apparently is that our body tends to, reject them. But what they're now trying to do is really gene edit, as you said, basically, the livers and the lungs even from pigs to make sure that our body does not reject it. And they just recently did it in China. So a doctor transplanted a gene edited pig lung into a brain dead man. Worked for 9 days. So, which is transplanting a lung is not the easiest thing to do. We worked for 9 days.
Yeah. And by the way, Alnilam is working on a molecule that helps reduce rejection, not just suppress it, but also kind of engineer to improve the acceptance of the xeno organ into the new recipient. Yeah.
I think the interesting thing in this always is the placenta, because of course, over 50% of the population of Earth have the ability to manage tissue rejection for the most part in the placenta. A growing fetus is a foreign tissue. And so within that, it's always interesting to see work done in that area. That's, within the placenta, we have a solution towards tissue rejection, and doesn't seem to be picked up quite as much.
No, indeed. And I still have this one thing that I wanted to share. The maybe for the one that wants to pick it, just raise your hand. But I really like that article, and it's Friday. We're going into the weekend. It's almost a motivation to do it. But how are raves the new wellness frontier? I don't know if anybody of you guys sometimes go to raves.
Back in the day, I was a child of the 80s and 90s. That was I
Exactly.
jumped to the back of a car and went to a petrol station, and someone picked up a phone. They told you where to go. So, oh yes,
exactly, the hidden raves. But it's still happening today, and it's becoming a new wellness frontier. Why?
It's because I can answer that. It's because all the ravers are old, and yeah, and so they're quite happy to go raving, and then raving was quite a lot of exercise. So I think that's maybe part of it. The music's great as well, but that'll be my
community. Yeah. But it totally is the case. I mean, I still sometimes do raves, and the reason why I do raves is because some raves you still have older people there. If you go to other parties, there are kids around. That could be my own kids from an age point of view. Only from an age point of view. So just to be clear, but those raves are really cool. And it's about movement. It's about joy, as you said. It's about human connection. But there's this one guy called, it's actually a scientist, and he created, I didn't write his name down, but he's a scientist and a DJ, and he created, obviously the most popular word today is longevity, and he created the longevity rave. And so it's really about, feeling good, dancing, belonging, and so forth. But what he also does is he measures health markers like stress, mood, heart rate before and after the raving. So really to see if the positive effects that it could have on the bodies. And it's not just what he does, but I don't know if we talked about it last time. I had it in the short list of things I wanted to talk about, but there's sauna raves now. So sauna is...
Oh, is this the next step up from Aufguss? It's like a rave inside a sauna, yeah.
It's raving inside a sauna.
Yeah.
You have these morning coffee raves. I don't know if you've seen them. Like this big, what's the Belgian breakfast company again that is around the globe?
Pain Quotidien.
Pain Quotidien. They are organizing morning raves with DJs. So when you're having your coffee in the morning, there's a rave going on next to you, people dancing and all of that. But also in theater and spirituality, there's a lot of raves going on just to make sure that it kind of resets body and mind, let's say.
Yeah, let's not forget, a quite not innocent drug, but acid makes you love everyone. And I've seen videos of people say, acid was kind of demonized, but no one got aggressive from acid. You could take too much and things like that, but everyone loved everyone. And there was not much aggression in raves. There were just the music and people. And I think, psychotropic effects of acid might help you become kind of a better person. So, but that was acid hurt no one.
Yeah, that was definitely the attraction back in the late 80s and early 90s. There was a lot of acid, then there was a lot of ecstasy. And, you took ecstasy, you genuinely felt a great deal of love for a lot of people. And it was a real change from alcohol-fueled nightclubs where aggression was the norm,
exactly,
through to places where this is maybe for another time. I can tell you about the experience back in the day. But what I will say is that psychedelic research, particularly drugs based around MDMA and so on, which actually, interestingly, in the US has a prohibition on the research. That was a big change. They've opened up a lot, but MDMA was one that was excluded, has some really interesting properties in terms of that empathogenic approach, which has great medical therapeutic effects. But yeah, combine, I was going to say, you know, the stress levels, they'd have to sort of, you know, balance for the molly at the same time. But, you know, coming together, good music with people, rhythmic movements, all that kind of thing. Yeah, some interesting stuff.
Yeah. There's a very old reportage. I don't know how you say that in English.
Documentary.
Mm-hmm.
You should look up. It's called Neurons to Nirvana. And it kind of explains, I think it's 10 years old, but it's very, very avant-garde on the effects of psychedelics on also the output of artists, not when they were high, but when they were sober, right? It kind of re-engineered the way people looked at reality and find new solutions, new opportunities, new levels of creativity. And I think for me, that would be the only reason I would give it a try, is to be better sober and to see more things sober and to make more of the current reality than...
If anyone's interested in learning more about that, actually Netflix has a great 4-part documentary. Michael Pollan, How to Change Your Mind. And goes through, and it covers the kind of 4 main category of psychedelic in there. And so you can learn a lot about, you know, the human tradition in this area all the way through to modern research.
Yeah. So with that was the unusual one I prepared for the one living in the party city of Europe, being of course. So with that, it's time to wrap up the Healthusiasm podcast for this week. Thank you for listening. If you like this show, then hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform right now. You can also visit healthusiasm.com to subscribe to the newsletter and learn more about our panelists. For now, I'd like to thank our panelists for their Healthusiasm. Thank you, Aline Loiset, Dr. Keith Grimes, and Mo Zouina. My name is Christophe Jauquet. We are the Healthusiasm panel, and we'd love to see you again next month for some more Healthusiasm. Ciao.